on here? Well, it is that time again. It's one of my favorite times of the week, even though Brian's on the show. Hi, Brian.
That's appropriate. I accept it.
You accept it gladly or happily or?
Well, I mean, I'm here, so my mood's already pretty bad.
I see. Well, Brian, I had a whole idea planned here for what we were going to do, and then all of a sudden, there was breaking news.
Oh no!
Fisker might have produced 2,000 vehicles last week.
I have seen one. I have a video coming up. I got to touch one. I got to check it out, and it looks great.
Really?
Yeah, it was breathtaking, and not only was it as good as the model, the BMW iX, but it's like $30,000 less. She only paid about 70 grand for it, to which I said, oh, wow, I can't imagine how much they're losing on each unit. It must be a tremendous amount, but they are producing and selling them.
Yeah, how about that? And now we've got Corey Steuben going to Lucid.
Yeah. If anyone can help Lucid, it's Corey. He's got not as much experience as Sandy Monroe, but you can't get Sandy Monroe for anything but a contract. And that costs millions. It's likely they got Corey for less than millions. I wouldn't be surprised if it's over $1 million. They love burning cash. But yeah. Corey's they're really good at it. I think that's how they power the vehicles.
I think
is on cash combusted steam. So the thing with Corey is he is so knowledgeable. He has a wealth of knowledge. And if anyone can tell them what they need to do differently, it's him. They will get more information out of him for less money than if they were buying reports and bringing in all the contractors.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully he's getting paid in cash or stock that doesn't have a vesting period, because their path forward is going to require an awful lot of new cash infusion, which will dilute the shares and cause harm to today's shareholders, because the company is still valued at something like 20 billion, which is too much. That's too high for what they have to offer. And what I would say to the Lucid people, and I had someone on Twitter say, you're excited about this? I thought you hated Lucid. I don't hate Lucid. I've never hated Lucid, but I'm able to recognize the reality, which is that Lucid's got some serious fundamental problems. And they've got the best engine, the best ever. If they had all that, they wouldn't need Corey.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I've never had Corey on my show, and maybe after I say this, he never will come on my show. I hope that they only ask him for mechanical advice and not his marketing ideas.
Oh,
I've never been terribly excited by what I've heard him say about marketing, but his mechanical and all that knowledge that he got, I guess primarily from working under Sandy. Yeah, that's got to be worth a pretty penny.
A pretty penny. And I haven't heard his marketing ideas, but they can't be worse than what Lucid has so far. The one great idea I saw was somebody said Lucid needed to either go quite a bit cheaper or quite a bit more expensive.
Oh.
Maybe they needed to not be the next Tesla, but the first electric Rolls-Royce, so to speak.
Something
go
like
all
that,
the way to the top.
Except it's too late for that. Rolls-Royce just said the other day they're not going to make any more gas cars.
Yeah, and pivoting this late is going to be difficult. Their next vehicle is the Gravity, for which they've already built the building in which the factory will go, but they haven't built the factory. The factory is going to need $1 billion of equipment, which we have not seen them loading in or configuring. So, and then when they get to the mass market vehicle, they don't yet have a facility for that. I assume what they would try to do is retool the Gravity building to produce the mass market car. But then you're competing, right now they're competing with Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, Tesla. But when you get to mass market, you're competing with everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is such fundamental marketing. I just don't quite understand it. I mean, if you're not first, then you're probably going to need to niche yourself.
Yeah.
Or you better have something a lot better than whoever's in first. I mean, one of those two things is going to happen. Well, then we got Rivian. Rivian just it seems to be coming along, doing their thing and looking like they're going to hit numbers. So they might actually turn into a car company.
I'm excited for Rivian. They've got the R1S is the SUV version, and it's got a lot of simplifications over the R1T. They've gotten rid, there's no cargo tunnel behind the back seat. There's no rolling tonneau, which is going to cause problems. It's less likely to be taken off road where it stands to be high centered or otherwise stranded due to the strenuous requirements of off-road use. And I've seen the R1S. It's great. I've sat in it. It's the third row is pretty decorative rather than functional, but I don't imagine the third row is meant for more than in-town use. So in that regard, it's fine. It's a bit expensive still, but apparently not, because they're selling them. And that is the thing with scale, is as you continue to scale, your prices will improve.
Then Nissan says, okay, all right, we're going to do it. We're going to get in the electric game. So we're going to show you a really cool car, a really cool concept car that we might have in 2026 or so. But at least they showed up.
They did show up, and Nissan has said, despite softening of ICE expiration dates, they're still going to go all electric by 2030. Now, I don't know if they'll hit that target. 2030 is a bit ambitious, considering it's already basically 2024. It's already the 2024 model year. But if they shoot for the moon and get almost to the moon, I'm still pretty excited. So that's hopefully something they can do. And the Leaf was and remains a very competent car for what it is.
And then Toyota, a little late also, says they're going to make 600,000 BEV. No, was it? Yeah, I think it was all electric.
I think it was.
Yeah,
I think it was.
In 20.
Because they were already, they're already making a ton of hybrids. So 600,000, including hybrids, would be low. So, by what year do you remember?
I think it was 2025.
That seems.
I thought that seemed doable. They would have to move quickly, but at least maybe by the end of the year, a run rate of 600,000.
I think what Toyota is seeing is that the BZ4X, the Buzz Forks, is by engineering standards a grossly incompetent car, but in the market it still sells and it still works. And if this is the kind of success we can get on a car that was named by stabbing your keyboard with your elbow and intentionally sabotaged at every step, then just imagine how good the car will be once we put our A-team engineers on it and give it a name that doesn't sound like you're in the middle of a sneeze.
Okay. Well, okay. Now coming back to Tesla, I mean, they heard me. They listened to my channel. They watched my channel.
For sure.
Because they apparently are shipping a Model 3 Plaid to Europe. I don't know if that's true or not, but the rumors get stronger and stronger.
So the way I saw it was the person who surmised this did so by looking at VIN registrations and determining that like the 11th character is a T or something like that. And then others dug deeper and said any dual model motor is already a T. So it could be a misunderstanding. It could just be a dual motor, but it could be if they're doing a new. I don't think the 3 needs a tri-motor. I think doing a single Plaid motor in the back would still deliver, would get you halfway to the Plaid experience, at least, maybe more, because it's a lighter car. It's a smaller car. And that carbon overwrap is going to get you a big chunk of the way there. It's exciting. I don't think they want to go all the way down to the kind of specs that we see on the S Plaid, because that is one of the few differentiating factors that the S has over the 3. But the S sells in such low volume, it's likely that a 3 Plaid by itself would sell more than all the S's combined.
It's very possible, yes. It's true. I know that if I was a little younger, And if I was driving more than 100 miles a month, I would be in line for a Model 3 Plaid. There's no doubt about it. Okay, and then we've got this, the beginning of the end of last week or over the weekend or sometime, the performance Cybertruck. So what do you think that's all about?
Well, it's, we knew there was going to be a tri-motor from the get-go. There'd been rumors of a quad motor. I don't see the benefit to that. I think you can get enough traction in off-road applications with a single motor up front and using the brakes to distribute power. I think you can get enough traction in the front in drag racing scenarios. But a performance like track edition, if you look at the Cheetah launch mode that the S and X have, and now imagine instead you've got 16 inches of difference, you're going to get a surprising bit of off the start traction there that might make a pretty wild difference. And performance, I mean, we just called it tri-motor back in the previous decade when I was a kid. And really tri-motor, I've always just called it 2 in the trunk, 1 in the frunk, but I think that kind of creates a different connotation that people maybe don't want to associate with the daily driver.
I hear you.
So I think you do.
So then over the weekend, of course, and by Monday, we had folks filling up the parking lots down in Austin again. And so the word on the street has been all morning that all guns are blazing down in Austin, and that by next week, Model Y will be back up to normal numbers or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe you can explain that, as well as, does that mean that maybe full production or the beginning of mass production of the Cybertruck is also maybe around next Monday?
So we don't know exactly why they decided to close the Model Y line at all, but I think the answer has to do with the volume of Cybertrucks that they're going to see. The original design of the Cybertruck was that it would have no paint at all, but that interior space, the cabin, the occupant home, requires paint. So what they did is, and I think I might have explained this last week, but let's say this is the shape of your factory and you've got Cybertruck down in this area and you've got the paint shop all the way up here, is they just cut a little area into it. So it just kind of goes into the corner of the paint shop. To make that work at volume, you might have to reconfigure the paint shop enough that you have to shut the whole thing down while you do it. And that means no Model Ys can be produced. The good news is demand is not so robust that they are going to suffer from having lost those weeks of production.
I see. Yes,
they're still producing in Fremont. They still had some inventory from which to draw down. So this is good news. And it means the Model Ys can start ramping back up. Now, if you look at Fremont and Shanghai, when they were forced to close for a prolonged period of time due to requirements from the man, when they turned everything back on, it took a week or 2, 3 weeks to get back up to speed because it's a locomotive and it takes time to turn it on. It takes time to get it up to full speed. So it's going to be, right around the first week of the quarter when I expect to see it back to its pre-shutdown levels. I don't believe there were any efficiencies added to the Model Y lines during this time. There could be, but nothing significant. They still have a lot of room to expand production on the lines they have just by using the third shift.
Yeah.
So they could dramatically increase production without retooling the line. But what this means is the Cybertruck line is getting dialed in. And what I expect is throughout October for them to be starting their ramp, building up. And just like the Model 3 launch in Shanghai, we may see parking lots full of them as the big delivery event draws near. And at the delivery event, I expect employees who have ordered one to get one. And then I expect a number, and I don't know what that number is, of day one reservation holders to also take delivery in October. That is my understanding.
And you're still looking at the 3rd or 4th week of October. Obviously, at this point, since we haven't had an announcement, it's not going to be before the 3rd week. Are you ready to say any more than about what you might? No, not yet. Huh?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Well, I haven't received additional confirmation from any of my sources that would tell me that the date is still on or that it has shifted. But it is still my understanding that it's going to be the last week of October.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. All right. And then I know we had a little conversation in the green room before we. Do you want to change your color and your background again or not? No, that was.
Nah,
only do
too
that
many
once.
steps.
All right, too many steps. Yeah. All right. So when we were talking in the green room, you said that you don't have your final numbers for next Monday yet. You're waiting for some incoming. But are you more in the Test-like camp of, something in the 440s? Or are you more in the camp of the guy that came out today who shall be nameless because Gary Black didn't name him at 480? Are you somewhere in between?
So I haven't looked at any of their numbers. I looked at Troy's, I don't know, maybe last week. Herbert showed them to me, but I don't follow his numbers because they fluctuate so much, and I struggle to understand anything about him. I can't get a read on him. He is not part of the community in a traditional sense, where any of us actually know what he's doing or who know him at all. And he's had some pretty breathtaking misses in the past, like 5% off, which is like something a pretty regular occurrence. Like once or twice a year, he'll miss by that much. So I've seen his methods. They're very complicated, but not necessarily very accurate. What I'm seeing now, you'll remember on the 6th of what was that? March, January, February, April, the 6th of April. Yeah, I think it was the 6th of April. I was the first one to say Q3 was going to be down. It's going to be down, and here's why. And it was all the retooling. It was the Model 3 Highland retooling. I didn't anticipate why retooling, but and then a couple of weeks later on the earnings call, Elon confirmed this quarter is going to be down. And I got to, for about a day and a half, look like I know what I'm talking about, which is great. I'll take it. You start with the day and a half and you build up from there. This quarter will be a miss. The question is how much, and what I'm waiting for is Bob from Bob's Bibs and Bobs to tell me how many of his Bob they have sold into Texas, which will give me the last piece of the jigsaw that I need to know with pretty good accuracy. I think if I get that number today or tomorrow, I think I'll come out as accurate as I always am, which is pretty accurate.
All right. Yeah. In fact, last time the second quarter, you were I think right up there with the best of them in terms of.
I was
right.
I was first I was first or second among the actual analysts, and better than virtually everyone. But there was like one or two people who made guesstimates without showing the math, and those don't count. Those are dartboard numbers. Those are easy to get. Anybody can. You throw up enough of them. Heck, I'll create 10 new Twitter accounts, put up 10 different estimates, and whichever one hits, I'll say, haha, I'm the new guru.
Well, I fit somewhere in between. I don't have any on the ground reporting at all, but I listen to your reporting and Troy's reporting and this guy's reporting and that guy's reporting and Elon's actual statements. I actually pay attention to those. And then everything else that I can think of, and then I connect all the dots and I come up with a number. And I was actually, you and I were the ones that.
You and I were right there.
Right.
I think you and I were the two most accurate. And what happened was, see, I count yours because you show how you got there. There's nothing wrong with a meta-analysis. If you say, I'm going to take, well, that's what the Wall Street consensus is. They take all the estimates and average them, and there you go.
Yeah.
And that's how you get so I count that. But some people go,
yeah,
469, 420,
Yeah. You would never come up with a number.
Never.
No.
Never. I haven't pulled one of those in months.
months or so. Anyway, well, Brian, that was an extremely interesting time that we had just now. I mean, we covered some territory. So, but I think people should follow you.
Oh, wow. That's a great idea.
I think it's My Tesla Weekend, some weird name like that. You'll have to explain that to
Right.
me someday. I'm sure there's probably something really brilliant behind it. It's not clear.
Could mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. Well, there you go. Like Elon's new name, nobody. Yeah, his new name. Is that going to be his Twitter handle? Anyway, Brian, thank you for being on. And thank you for follow Brian wherever he goes, especially on weekends. And then Brian, don't forget to buy your Cybertruck.
I already have mine.
That's right. You got yours before I got mine.
That's right.
That's true. All right. That's all we got, folks. I am going to say it again. It's been great talking to you.